Like the letter I sent on the NHI, it simply was brushed away. And that is not how partners treat each other. It's not, and no matter how many clearinghouses you have, that's not how you run a government. Leanne?
I was there in that meeting when they told me, him point blank, that after the meeting he must announce that we are stopping the implementation of NHI.
Who told him that?
The BUSA, Business Unit South Africa.
But who tells the president what to do?
Exactly. And he was not very happy with that. He was very upset.
NHI, for example. The NHI, the Bella Bill and the Expropriation Bill are all bills that were signed in and agreed to in the previous parliament. But when it comes to the NHI must be reflected in the medium-term development plan. Now, that medium-term development plan, there must be sufficient consensus in terms of Clause 19.3. So we are insisting that when it comes to the NHI, that sufficient consensus must and should apply. And even if Mr. Mbalula thinks that other acts does not apply to Section 19.3, we must from now on have an understanding within this GNU that the ANC does not govern anymore alone. They must come to that realization. Everybody should also know that they might not necessarily all the time get what they want. We've got to work together. And it's time that the president must do everything in his power to try and save this GNU as well. We cannot have the president standing on Davos in the international arena and brag about the accomplishments of this GNU, but back at home he's just steamrolling through old ANC ideologies. It will not happen on our watch. We will not allow that. We will insist on sufficient consensus being reached with all decisions within the GNU.
We have to look at how do we push the development of our indigenous African languages, including the Khoi and San languages. Afrikaans is not going to disappear. It's one of the official languages. It's spoken by a broader community than just the Afrikaner community. And for them to isolate themselves, we think that is a problem, rather than to see themselves as part of that community of 12 South African languages. The final question with regards to Bella is about the norms of standards. Now, the development of norms and standards are normal because the law can't cover all of the details, and therefore it's a way of looking at how do you implement. We hear what the leader of the DA said, and the emphasis on the DA minister. But we also want to use this opportunity to remind them that the statement of intent talks about a commitment to the rule of law.
I want to dispel this particular notion that seems to exist among some, that this administration is an extension of the Sixth administration. It's not. This is a new government. It's not the same government that's picked up the reins from the last election and carrying on. The voters of South Africa in the last election took the ANC's majority away from them. The Seventh administration is a coalition government. And so you can't just simply carry on governing as if the election last year didn't happen. It happened. And voters took that majority away for a reason. And they instructed us as parties to work together to find solutions for the country. And so this notion that, well, something was done in the Sixth administration suddenly makes it all right for the Seventh administration. It's not how coalitions work. There's no government in the world that works like that.
Not in this GNU, our people came out in numbers and voted. I wouldn't even need a call to anybody. I will simply say that we are implementing the policy of the ANC. But the ANC has been undermined in terms of its majority and muscle to advance people's power and advance the agenda of transformation. Today, we are constrained. We are constrained. We explain ourselves about things that we shouldn't be explaining ourselves, because I'm explaining myself to somebody that I know very well that where do they come from in terms of their opposition to this bill. And what do we represent as the ANC in relation to this bill? That is not non-negotiable. Now, if I have to bend back and forth in relation to these particular matters is because our power, our wings to fly have been clipped and our power to advance has been weakened. And we have said that we are weak